Life leads to the transcendent. Life is a mystery to us. Nobody can fathom it. And we live in it, and it lives in us. And we can't even say whether we have life or life has us.
Still active on the world stage at age 88, Brother David Steindl-Rast has the playful nature of a little child. He's the Benedict monk teaching the world how to be grateful. He spends half the year living in a monastery and the other half lecturing with influential spiritual leaders like the Dalai Lama. I was certainly grateful to join Brother David in San Francisco for an enlightening conversation about happiness, grateful living, and God. Brother David, how many times a day do you pray?
Well, you have to distinguish between formal prayer times and praying. Praying you should be doing all the time. Prayer times, as Benedictines, we have 7 times a day and once during the night, according to the rule of St. Benedict. But those are the formal ones, and they are really not so important. They are the ones that remind us to be praying at all times. And to pray at all times means to be moment by moment attuned to life, attuned to what life wants from you.
And you mentioned Saint Benedict. I think the life of, especially for young people, the monastic life is not that appealing. It's very rigorous and disciplined. At what moment did you realize that you wanted to devote yourself to God?
Actually, I grew up during World War II. I had all my teen years during Hitler occupation of Austria, and during the war we were, of course, confronted with bombings and our friends being drafted and dying left and right, and we were continuously confronted with death. And in the Rule of St. Benedict, which I had read at that time, and in that Rule of St. Benedict, it has one little sentence that says, to have death at all times before your eyes. And that impressed me very much at that time already when I read it for the first time, because it was when we had death at all times before our eyes. And then, when the war was over and I was still alive, you can't imagine what a surprise that was. And then the war was over before I was 19, and I survived. And I was at a very happy time in Salzburg, which is my favorite city, and with a girlfriend, and with lots of music and other friends. It was just wonderful. But it occurred to me that we had been so happy throughout our childhood and youth because we had death at all times before our eyes. And I connected that with Benedictine life. I felt that from now on it would all be downhill unless I had death at all times before my eyes, because that made us live in the present moment and made us fully alive. And when you think you have very little time to live, you come alive. So when I realized that, I thought, well, I should probably become a Benedictine monk, but I didn't like the idea at all. And I actually ran away from it and found all sorts of excuses, and then finally went to the United States, which is not the place where one normally goes in order to join a monastery. Right. And when I saw the monastery, I knew immediately that was it, and joined, and have been a member for more than 60 years now.
So what age was that?
I was 26. So because
my age.
That's nice. I was running away. I had this clear notion that I should become a monk when I was 19, but then I ran away for 7 years.
And your teachings are based on the idea that gratefulness leads to happiness. Are you truly grateful for every single moment that you experience?
I'm glad you put it this way. every single moment and not everything that you experience, because I cannot and nobody can be grateful for everything that we experience. Everybody can think of many, many things that one cannot be grateful for. War and exploitation and hunger and degradation of the environment and in personal life. There are many things that you can't be grateful for. But in every moment you can be grateful, because at every moment you can be grateful for the opportunity that this present moment offers you. When we realize that the most precious thing that is given to us and really freely given to us is the present moment, then we have reason every moment to be grateful for the opportunity that this moment affords us. And unless we had a moment, we wouldn't have opportunity to enjoy and to learn and to grow and to do whatever else we want to do.
It seems like every time I turn on the news, there's some kind of story about war or fighting, violence. Why do you think religious wars and religious divides are so prevalent?
Religious wars?
Or wars in the name of religion. People will always use that as an excuse.
Right. Religious wars is a contradiction in terms, of course. Somebody says it's like military intelligence. But okay. Military is the unintelligent answer to the world problems. That's also why we have wars. And so why are many of these wars under the cover of religious convictions? Because religious convictions tend to have a very strong hold on people, and those who want to fight others try to enlist those strong emotions that are raised by whatever religious label we give ourselves.
And what is your relationship with God?
I would first stop and ask what you mean by God. And God is originally a word that is not God or goddess, not he or she, but the word God is originally neuter, and it means an attitude, or it means on our part an attitude, on the part of that which we call God, a quality. And so originally God means that which we call to, that which is called upon, or to which we are in a relationship of speaking and listening. That is the idea behind God. The easiest way of speaking about this mystery is to call it life, because that's something all of us know. We all know we have a relationship to life. So I will take your question now as meaning, what is your relationship to life? And my first answer is, when I stop and consider it, I'm profoundly grateful that I am alive. I could be a rock, or I could not even be around. Why am I here at all? So I'm profoundly grateful that I have life. And then, as I live and experience life and see it in others and see it in animals and plants and in the whole cosmos, as I see this mystery of life, and it truly is a mystery. We can't fathom it, we can't say what it is, we can only experience, we can only live it. It's in us and we are in it. And as I experience it, I notice that it has a direction. That is a very important aspect. That's very surprising, that this great mystery isn't just simply sitting there, isn't simply, that would be already a lot, related to us and we related to it, but it has a direction. And what we can say is that we realize in our daily life there are things that are enhancing life, and there are things that go against life, against the grain of life. You mentioned war. War always goes against the grain of life. Killing always goes against the grain of life. And when you realize that, then your relationship to God, to that mystery, to life, is that you want to flow with it, you want to go with it. But that would be my relationship to God.
So the reason I asked you that question is because you've said, don't look outside for God, look within yourself.
The idea of not looking for God outside is very important because many people, especially if they have some sort of Sunday school upbringing or this sort of thing, think that God is a person out there somehow and we are over here. It's possible to have this relationship even though you're totally in it and it's totally in you, and we experience that most vividly with regard to life. See? We are totally immersed in life. There's not a moment you could continue to live if life weren't living you. Thomas Merton, a great writer and a Cistercian monk, said, God isn't somebody else. That was a very important thing to remember. God isn't somebody else, whoever you are.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Because a lot of people do, especially more modern thinkers, think that, God or the universe is this outside thing. It's over there somewhere and, it's looking down on me or, I'm looking up at it. But it's really inside of you. It's in the flowers. It's everywhere, right?
Absolutely. The universe you mentioned, that's a beautiful example for it. It's also outside in the sense that you can relate to it. That doesn't mean outside really, not separated from you, but distinct. So we must make distinctions without separating. And yes, you are someone else from me, but our self is one. We are one.
Source. We have the same source.
Yeah.
You once, I love this story, you once sat with the Dalai Lama. We were talking about this earlier. And it was at a conference, and you shared a special moment when he took away your prayer beads. Can you tell me about that?
Well, that was in Vermont, and it was a meeting, and several people were giving lectures, and the Dalai Lama was also giving a lecture, and I was also giving a lecture. So in this case, we were just sitting next to one another, listening to someone else talking. And I was using my beads, as I usually do, and he was using these big beads. So all of a sudden, he very quietly reached over, took the beads from my finger, and used them and gave me his big ones. And then afterwards, he laughed and he said, "So small, they're so small, ha, ha, ha." As he usually laughs like that. But it was more than a joke. It was an affirmation that whatever we do in prayer, we do the same thing. We attune ourselves to life, to that mystery of life. Or whether you do it as a Buddhist or as a Hindu, as a Jew or Muslim or Christian, everybody does that in prayer. And that was an affirmation. And it was also a very beautiful gesture of interreligious unity.
I don't even have, that was my last question. I wasn't going to ask anything else, but I just thought of something. When you said we all do it, we all pray.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, Gregorian monks are known for that beautiful chanting. I always listen to it at my house. I don't know what it means. I don't know what they're saying. I just love the sound of it. Can you tell me, I heard once I don't know where the quote came from, but somebody said, when you sing, you pray twice.
Yes, I think that comes from St. Ambrose, who was had an interesting life. He wasn't even baptized. He was just a very popular official, a Roman official in the 5th century in Milan. And the bishop died and they had to elect a new bishop, and they couldn't agree. That was the time when all the people elected the bishop. The church was full with people to elect this bishop, and much debate and pulling in all directions. And all of a sudden, a little child cried out, "Ambrose Bishop!" A little baby. And everybody said, "Yes, Ambrose Bishop." The one making a bishop, he wasn't even baptized. So they had to baptize him and ordain him and then make him a bishop all within a few days. And he became a very great bishop in the church and wrote many chant melodies, that we sing now and hymns go still back to St. Ambrose. So that's how he's connected with chant. And he's the one that said, who sings praise thrice.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful.